Hello, welcome to this second video whereby I'll be explaining different questions that I've been asking the interviews during the creation of the street interview video. The first question was, what are the three branches of government? My interviews were able to answer this question correctly, whereby they mentioned the executive branch, legislative branch, as well as the judiciary branch.
Hi.
Hi, Noella.
My name is Noella Ishimwe. I'm a student in the Bachelor of Arts program with College of America at Southern New Hampshire University. And I am conducting this interview as part of my academic work. So with your consent, I record this interview and use information in the street interview video. This is the video that I'm working on for the Contribute to the Society project. This interview will be used to create the street interview video, as I mentioned, and will be submitted to College for America so that my work can be evaluated. So it will only be used for this purpose. The interview information will be temporarily stored in the College for America online evaluation system, to which only the evaluator and College for America will have access to. Do you have any question?
No questions so far.
Do you give your consent to be interviewed?
No problem.
Then you repeat this question.
I, Mugisha Emmanuel, give my informal consent to participate in this interview, to be recorded and used as part of the student academic work.
Thank you. What are the three branches of government?
Oh, the three branches of government, there is legislative, there is executive, and there is judicial branch.
I Thank you so much. Do you know the three branches of government? I think there are three. The first one is the legislative branch, the judiciary branch, and the executive branch.
About what each branch does.
And as I was saying, the executive branch, I think it deals with the sectors within the village. I'm not quite sure, but I think it deals with that.
I'm not sure, but the legislative branch, she deals with setting laws, rules and regulations that will be followed by the citizens. Executive, it's for executive, and the judicial, it's for looking for justice of the people.
The executive branch is headed by the president, and the president carries the federal laws and implements new ones. The powers of this branch includes directing the government, commanding the armed forces, and dealing with the international powers, as well as acting as chief law enforcement officer. In few words, this branch deals with the executing the laws created by the Congress or the legislative branch. Going to the legislative branch, the legislative branch is composed by two major bodies, namely the House of Representatives and the Senate, whereby the main task of these bodies is to make laws or regulate laws. Like its powers include passing laws after the Congress decides, or the legislative branches decide about the laws or introduces laws. This one is in charge of applying the laws, executes or carries out the laws made. Then the judicial branch evaluates the laws. You can see on the picture. You can see that the legislative is made by the Congress, like it's the Congress is made by the Senate and House of Representatives, as mentioned before. Then the executive is composed by the president, vice president, and the cabinet, which is in charge of advising the president, and the vice president is also in charge of checking whether the president is able to rule the government while or is like or when he's not longer able to do so, like when he's dead or when he's retiring, things like that. Then for the judicial, which evaluates the laws, is composed by the Supreme Court and the other. So I would say that these branches are connected. Like the executive branch has the role to ensure that laws are carried out and funds to facilitate such day-to-day responsibilities of the federal government, like collecting taxes, safeguarding the homeland, etc. About the legislative branch, then the legislative branch then creates or passes national law and allocates funds for the running of the federal government and providing the assistance to the 50 U.S. states. And then for the judicial branch, which consists of the U.S. Supreme Court, has 9 justices who are chosen by the President and confirmed by the Senate. And once appointed, Supreme Court justices serve until they retire or resign or die. This is done just to make sure that the power is shared and separated. So, but each branch can check other branches' action or balance the action of the other branches with their own actions. So, yes, there are different and distinct and separate branches of government, but this is due to the reason that the Constitution did not wish to have the totalitarian system back in the government. So this was to ensure that there is no monopoly on power. The next question was the Democrats and Republicans are the major parties. So can you name the third party?
We have a good government, we have senates. In other countries there is no senate cabinet, but senates sit together with chief of representative and they make a vote according to the suggestion of the law. So if the vote is more than 50%, the law starts to be applied.
Government or the third party. So those would include the different parties like Green Party, Constitution Party. However, even if these parties are the largest of the third parties, they represent only a fraction of American voters and are more ideologically oriented than Democrats and Republicans. There was the Libertarian Party, which supports laissez-faire policies, small government, and it is socially liberal and fiscally conservative. Before I proceed, how did the two-party system start? From the beginning in 1789, the US did not have a two-party system. It had George Washington, a president without any party. So during these 2 terms, a rivalry grew between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, who were all Federalists. Jefferson challenged Adams under the banner of the Democratic Republican Party. Interestingly, that this first real party alone should contain the nominal seats of the present two-party system. So, but the word democratic implies the will of people, and the word Republican implies rule of law. Then, by the start of the 5th Congress, which coincided with the inauguration of John Adams as the president on 4th March in 1797, so 2 national major political parties had emerged from among the strong supporters of the policies of outgoing President Washington. So going back to the minor parties, they play an important role in national politics. This is because they usually organize and mobilize around a single issue or position, like putting pressure on candidates from major political parties so as to address those issues. You can see on the picture like how the process by which the law, I mean the bill becomes a law. It all starts with an idea, and this idea can come from anybody. However, only members of the Congress can only introduce a bill in the Congress. Like it can be introduced at any time in the House in the session, and no one else, even if its president, has the power to introduce a bill in the Congress. Then, after that, there will be a proposal of a bill. When the idea is proposed, then it's written, then they introduce it to the Congress. After this, it is taken to subcommittee action, where it is carefully analyzed and studied, and they may hold hearings to obtain views from different peoples, from experts, supporters, and opponents. Then the bill is released from the committee along with a report explaining the provision of the bill, and is then orderly reported. Then after then the House is ready to vote on the bill, and lastly, if a bill is proposed or a proposed law becomes a law after both the House of Representatives and the Senate have approved it in the same form. One of my interview, Mujisha said that when they vote for the
of the law. So if the vote is more than 50%,
that's not the case. If all approve it, yeah, 50-50, like he said, though did not mention who votes for it, but that's when it becomes the law. So thank you so much. That's all I have to say today, and that was about the government and you. Thank you.